All right, I'm sorry, dude. I shouldn't smoke. Okay, rules up with yourself. Don't smoke before podcasts, especially if you're already like myself. Okay. Hello, I'm Jace. I'm Jace Preme. I'm sitting here with Rose the engineer. This is episode 3.
Three, yes.
This is episode 3 of the Preme Pod, and today we're going to talk about why repelling the wrong. Let me get this actually closer. Repelling the wrong people can sometimes be even as important as attracting the right people. But before we kind of get into that, I know that was kind of like a whoa, like whoa. But before we get into that, let's kind of talk about what we've been working on since we last spoke, if anything. So for you on your end, what have you been kind of up to since we last spoke?
So I'm doing basic client acquisition.
Mhm.
I'll talk about it on here, right?
Yeah,
Because like there was a part of me where like the negative Detroit part of me came out where I was like, I'm not gonna give all this fucking game, so they
yeah.
take it. But that's also bullshit. So what I've been doing I've been doing basic client acquisition for the studio. So what I'm doing basically is I'm going to videographers that I personally know because
Mhm.
I've been in this game and I know a bunch. And what I'm doing is anybody that shoots a video with them, I give them 2 free hours of studio time. So what I'm doing is his name is Ty.
Mm.
His name is Ty. And so I let Ty know. I'm actually wearing their shirt. This is a Tommy Chino shirt. It's crazy
Oh
life.
shit,
Yeah. Back,
shit's
yeah.
hard.
So I basically DM'd him because I know him, and I was like, I'm going to DM your clients for free studio time. Just if they check to see if I'm legit, just say I'm legit.
That's it.
That's it. And then he was like, how do you want to split the money? And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm gonna just give them free shit off your
Yeah.
name, right? And he was like, oh, okay, bet, perfect. So yeah, so I reached out. I'm not going as fast as I want to go because I'm balancing like home life or whatever. I have a multitude of excuses. I should be going harder, but this is the play, right? Is like videographers are the A&R of the music industry at I would say at every level. So it's like if you're trying to find clients, here's the thing with studios, right? Giving away free shit. Do not do that thing where you think that you have value, so you shouldn't give away free shit. Give away free shit, right? And this is the only reason this works for me. Because anyway, this is the reason it works for me. So I told him, I was like, anyone who shoots with you, I'm gonna reach out to him and give him 2 free hours of studio time. I only did 5 clients,
Mhm.
and 4 came, one no showed, one didn't have like cash app, or I'm sorry, one just didn't show up, so he's dead. He moved his shit twice, so it's like bye. But the 4 that showed up and did the free 2 hours, 3 out of 4 of them came back and
Wow,
paid, which is really high percentage.
that's a really
It's a
good
really
conversion
high
rate.
percent. Obviously, I have to do more, but it's just that. It's just you go. So I made basically, I made a spreadsheet, boom, 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 and then I have notes on my clients. I have notes on them. I have notes who they're affiliated with. So it's broken down into their Instagram, who they are, who they're affiliated with, if they have other friends or whatever. If they came if they booked, and then if they came, and then if they paid,
Mhm.
right? And that's like the cycle. So it's giving away the free shit. And the reason that this works for me is because I'm a very good engineer. I know just off the strength, I can beat out every engineer flat out at that price point, at the price point I
In
am.
some way, because everyone cares about their own thing,
Right.
right?
It's very rare because I
So you could
mean,
just be making them, even if you weren't, let's say you weren't good, even if you were just making them feel better than the other
yeah,
one, like that,
yeah,
you
for
got, you
sure.
stole them,
I
you
mean,
got them.
we could go deep into that, but let's not. But basically, that's what I've been doing for client acquisition. It's working very well, and so I just need to hit the gas. So like, really, I'm trying to get up to 100 new clients booked, and then if I have 100 new clients booked, that the math on that is roughly working 40 to 50 hours a week, strong, yearly. You
Mm,
know, and that's what I'm getting up to, and the math on that is roughly $6,000 a month, which is
that's
great.
dope.
And
Yeah.
then from there, I scale it up in multiple ways and whatever. So that's what I'm working on. I'm also working on my own music. We'll put a pin in that, and then
Hmm.
but that's the main thing. That's the main thing I'm working on right now.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, I love that you brought up. You basically working on kind of client acquisition as well, because that's kind of leads right into what we're gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
As far as what I'm working on, just to go really quick, because that's like a billion multitude of things, like you were just mentioning, and I don't want to say it out loud because that might make me just give you editing, like just tell you to edit. If I say everything I have to do out loud, I might just say, okay, there it is, because I haven't said it all out loud in a long time, but
Yeah.
biggest thing I'm working on right now is just this big kind of like super offer, like working on a centralized way to use the people around me who, have skills and need help monetizing them, and like creating like a big thing. Like we're basically gonna be like the Power Rangers. I okay, this is so ADHD, but I looked at Earn Your Leisure. Okay, I
Yes,
was I was I was like lost, and I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how I didn't know about them,
bro, they're
but yeah,
amazing.
that's kind of like I love that they inspired the fuck out of me. But we're gonna be Power Rangers. We're gonna come together and make that big ass giant that they make at the end of the episode when they win and shit. That's what I'm trying to build right now.
Megazord.
So yeah, I have a few guys like you're gonna help me. I'm not gonna unravel it just yet, but I'm working on that, and I'm working on building my funnel with the help of a mentor, and it's going fantastic. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's fucking. I'm excited about that. But repelling the wrong audience. I know you said you had like when I mentioned it, I know you mentioned you had questions about it because this is where our worlds collide here. Even when you were talking about client acquisition, like when
Yeah,
you were talking about what you were doing, it's funny when you're talking about this and your strategy, and this was stuff I was sitting in board meetings and stuff, and like this is stuff that they're discussing, but you just kind of simplified it in the way that you with the way you described it, but they
right.
use bigger words to describe it, which is funny.
Here's an advantage that I have of not being like a business person in that sense. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
guerrilla warfare business. All of these things I had to learn on my own. I think I have a natural aptitude for it, but it's like these things are just sort of like common sense things of like how to acquire clients and stuff. So it's like, and again, that me not having like actual business experience allows me to communicate it in a way that regular people would understand because that's how I understand it. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
Just to brag about myself again.
That was a big reason because I'm very intentional. Like people, like whenever I make decisions, people are always like, when I tell them why I actually made it, people are like, well, like okay, I didn't know you took that much thought into it.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to even bringing you on, like it was so intentional. There were so many things besides just like, okay, you're my dog. It's like everything that you say to me is always easily digestible.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like me. Sometimes it can be the opposite. Sometimes I can, especially with I tell someone a story, and within the story, there's 20 stories. They're like, it's not as that way.
Right.
But you explain things very easy, and that was a big reason why I didn't want you on, just because it's you don't make people look stupid. Like even if you're super duper smarter than them, you're able to just give it to you on a little platter for them.
I appreciate that. I don't think I'm necessarily smarter than anyone, but we can.
I mean, I like smart. Like,
Yeah.
that's very relative. You can like you. Everyone has their thing, right? Because
Right.
your thing is engineering, their thing is not. Sometimes when your thing is someone else is not their thing, whatever that fucking means.
Yeah.
People can be condescending and people be like, oh yeah, you don't fucking know because yeah, you don't know, as if it's easy to know, as if it didn't take you years to figure it out.
Right. For sure.
That's deeper. That's deeper.
Yeah.
But when it comes to repelling the wrong audience for you, for one, what does that mean to you when you hear that? What's the first thought pops in your head? Repelling the wrong audience.
Like overall or in the context of like recording?
I guess let's say in the context of recording sense, yeah.
Well, okay. In the context of recording, it's I am a hip hop fundamentally. I am a hip hop studio. So if you are in a rock band, I have no interest in recording you. Right. I mean, from genre lines, and that's just because I'm niched into hip hop, which means street music, singers, any vocals, any music bed, beat, instrumental, and vocals. Right. So it's like anyone who wants me to like track out drums, it's like I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And even when I'm not set up to do that, but even if I was set up to do that, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm so into hip hop. Nothing against the other genres. Maybe I'll do it for fun, but I hear that. The other thing is the right client, as far as if they have some level of digital currency, right? Is so okay. For example, this guy, he tried to rebook me twice. Maybe this isn't the same thing, but you can check me. So it was a free session. He moved it twice and then didn't show up on the second one, right? So it's like, okay, if you won't even come when it's free,
yeah,
I'm not going to waste my time pursuing it. Another thing is I had a client who is aggressively like tough with a new client with like re-edits and aggressively tough like negotiating prices and all of this type of stuff, God. Right? And in a way where he's playing a game. I'm not going to go too into it, but he's basically he's using his tactics. There's a level of here's a sales tactic from the dark side is one, I'm going to diminish what you do. Then I'm going to say why I don't need it. This is the client talking to me, why I don't need it. Then I'm going to tell you what you're doing is wrong. Then I'm going to tell you the other people I could fuck with. Then I'm going to tell you that I could get you a lot of business. right? And you know what I mean? So it's just so it's
uh,
like the confidence shaking is you can't do that to me because I'm a vet in this game, right?
yeah.
The other options that you have, it's like I don't care about that because this is not that,
Yeah.
the I could bring you other clients. I don't need you for that because I know how to get my own clients. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like word of mouth is the best. But so that type of stuff is like I'm gonna put very because I like him and I like his music, right? And I'm not taking this personally because this is just how the game is played.
That's how you have to be.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's and there is a level. I mean, when he
you gotta
started
see
doing
what you can get.
right, and so, but I've been through this multiple times, and it's like, and as you go, this is something experience teaches you. Everything he's saying to me, and it's like rapid fire. I'm like, okay, I know exactly who this is because this has happened to me 10 times. And then now I know if you're doing the same things that these 10 other people have done, then I can cross reference to that. And so it's like, if I do everything you say and I fall into it, what will happen is you will negotiate me down so low on my price and then be funny with the money. And then the people you bring will be the same and it will destroy my business. So there's a boundary that I have to set. Right. But it's because I've been through that because I've done that with multiple people. When I was drinking a lot, a client came in and he used to always bring a bottle and give it to me because he knew that when he got me in a good mood, he could get extra hours and shit out of me. Right. And then as soon as
Like fuck it,
no,
man.
no, but when I sobered up and he tried to do that again and I refused it and then I hit him with the full price, he stopped showing up. So it's things like that. Right. So
Yeah.
anyway, I could go up. So the wrong audience is, obviously if you don't have, for me, if you don't have digital cash, I don't care because I need the money up front. If you can't give me the money up front, you can go to someone else to deal with that. I'm not dealing with that flat out. Right. And then obviously genre. And then, um, I guess those are the two main things. I would have to think harder, I think, but we could probably jump off from that.
Now, my question for you is there any topic that, and this is not me asking you because I want to talk about one, but this is just me for the sake of this discussion. Is there any topic that, or anything at all in life that you would want to not talk about for the sake of your business on the podcast?
So instinctively, yes, but I think that's wrong because I'm on a path right now of speaking truth. And I think that I need to, um, I need to speak my opinions as they come up with no filter, even if they're wrong,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're maybe ignorant, like even if they're whatever, and then just take a cultural hit, I guess, from that. But I'm not worried about that because there will always be people to agree from like for sure a political and philosophical standpoint. People will agree
Mm-hmm.
with what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like so from like a political side of things, if someone doesn't agree with like we were talking last episode pretty deep into race and stuff. So I know there's
Yeah.
going to be people who see that and they're like, he's a racist, and they're going to try to smear me. And it's like, okay, then
Yeah.
you don't have to work with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the whole I'm this is a long answer to say I'm not afraid, but instinctively I am because I'm instinctively afraid of like what could possibly happen. But I don't think it would destroy me. I think that back to this topic of attract or repelling the wrong audience, I think is what you're leading into is that the people who agree with you from a philosophical standpoint will triple down on you.
That's big because the example I was going to do was like the Kanye and the Trump and all that examples. Well, say what you want about those guys, but the more opinionated that you are, the more die hard that the people you attract will be because that means that that's how narrow you've gotten. You've gotten so narrow that the people who follow you are actually just like you. When you've gotten
Yeah.
that narrow that you haven't suppressed anything, you're attracting many me's at that point.
Yeah.
So, but it's always the, once you as you get more successful because you see that people don't just do that in the beginning
Right.
like when you first
For
start when
sure.
you start to pop off, so it's always like as you get bigger and it's like okay now you can release more of yourself and your current clients if they don't fuck with you you can just skedaddle, but
Right.
then now you will attract more and more, but you need more credibility before it's like okay well he seems kind of racist but this other thing that he does is cool because even with like some of the shit that popped off from people that I buy products from and I didn't agree with, I just weighed the pros of the cons. Okay, you do
Yeah.
this, but I really need this. So, that's deep. That's deep that you mentioned that. For you, why do you why do you think it's important to repel the wrong audience if you think it's important at all
From a financial standpoint or just in general?
in general?
I mean, the whole reason I'm an entrepreneur is because I want to exist in my own world. I don't want to live in a world in a cookie cutter setup world that someone else controls. And that's what happens when you work at a job, whether you like it or not. It's there's culture within these jobs that you don't set. And I think that in order to be the most actualized person, you need your mind to be open. And if your job or your friend group depends on a certain type of thinking, then you will stay in that type of thinking. So it's important, like the speaking truth is important because it's like, I have to say it so that if you don't agree with me and we get to a point of contention where it becomes like an argument, not that that ever really happens, at least to me, very, very rare that I get into a philosophical argument with someone that it devolves into like, fuck you. But I need to be myself to the maximum because when you speak the truth, then you're creating your own world. And fundamentally, I need to create my own world in order to free my mind and allow my mind to be open in order to grow and be the person that I need to be without being subjugated by ideas under someone else's thumb that like I can't be financially dependent on someone and then they could rip the rug out from under me if I don't play like politics with them. You know what I mean?
Do it their way,
Or like even people who like your boss, right? Like who is not yours, like the general boss, who's like a dickhead and who sucks at his job, but you kind of yes man him playing like a Machiavellian game of growth. I don't want to exist in a place where I have to play manipulative games to win. Like I want to create the game with me basically controlling the atmosphere and then make that atmosphere be an area where people can express themselves completely and truthfully. Because if I'm going to be truthful, I want others to be truthful as well. And I want there to be no judgment or fear. And there is no judgment from me, generally speaking, like regardless of what you think, because I want to know why you think what you think in general.
Yeah, because it's got to be a reason. It's not like you were born just fucked up or whatever it might be.
Right. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of logical arguments. You can make very logical arguments for and have the wrong outcome. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm very much like, I guess we can get more into politics, I guess, because this is what it is. But it's like you have to when you have an idea, you have to think, why do I think this? And I think a lot of people just don't because because and I've done that with myself. And I know there are ideas I have that I don't know why I think them. And then when you check why you think them, it has to be rooted in a moral or a value about the world, right? Like the farther you go down, there's a bedrock of morals and virtues, or an idea of how the world works. And so like I think 90% of people believe the things they believe because they think it's best for everybody. Like I truly believe, like for sure, left and right people politically, I mean, both think that I think this because it will be better for everybody. Right.
Yeah, this is how it should be. Even sometimes when they know that it might not be the best, or like, but this is just kind of like how it's supposed to be.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's rooted on some sort of moral or virtue or ethic. And if that's incorrect, that's where you need to make adjustments, because I came from being very, very liberal, and then these days I'm sliding more over on this side, on the conservative side. I wouldn't call myself a conservative, but I'm sliding
with either.
Yeah, I'm sliding more that way because I had to double check my values and be like, because there's a friend that I have who I've known for a very long time, like 17 years, and she still has the same opinion she had when she was 15.
Wow.
And it's like, there's no way you were right at 15. You know what I mean? To still think the same exact things. And that's and me and her got into like a little bit of an argument to a point where I'm like, I won't get too into that because there was a lot of anyway, but it's like, but you gotta check why you think the things you think.
Yeah.
And I think that's the start of it. But again, it's like if someone disagrees with me, generally speaking, I'm not going to close my door to you. I don't want to be surrounded by only people who think what I want to think. And on top of that, if I'm the leader of this ecosystem, I don't want yes men around me either. Because then you start to become infatuated with your own ideas, especially if they're not being checked.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who go there.
Well, it's very intoxicating and easy for that to happen. You know what I mean? Where
because it's comfortable, because that's where you're most comfortable.
For sure.
Everyone doesn't,
and it strokes your ego. It strokes your ego. Like I'd rather have the debate and hash it out, because it's like I'm just like everybody else. You know what I mean? I think things that I think, and for however I think them, but I could be wrong. And it's more than possible I'm wrong across a lot of lines. You know what I mean? So it's like, as you go and as you grow, um, you need to reshape and reform the world multiple times. And me leaving Bank Rose, again, it's like I had to reform my entire identity. I had to kill off, like, no exaggeration, probably 80% of who I was. Most of my ego was rooted in how good of an engineer I was. That was taken away from me. Like that's a whole thing. So it's like when you burn, you can't be afraid to burn your shit down and reform it. But you have to reform it in the right way. It has to be reformed on positive morals and ethics. Otherwise, because there are very logical reasons to cause destruction and mayhem and things are bad, because the world is bad. But that doesn't mean you should be a part of that. You know what I mean? I think the offset of the suffering is being the positive. Is rebuilding yourself with the positive things in mind, right? Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I mean, and that's just to go even deeper. I mean, not like no more simple. But when it comes to like being your actual self and like not trying to suppress it, or when it comes to knowing why you think something, like you can go down a real crazy rabbit hole if you're just kind of just going with every first thought that you have.
Right.
Same reason with like in our culture, we were taught that leaving the light on while you drive is illegal. Like that's what all our parents said. We're gonna think.
Yeah, like in the car.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
Is it, so that's not actually illegal.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's
I know it's.
I don't know if it's illegal now. But I remember like finding out that it wasn't. And it was like, but literally like when cause I found out like recently, it's like I'm driving and I'm telling people don't, cause the lights off. Like, and it's like why? Cause that's what you gotta do. And it's I had to realize, oh, my mom just told me that, so I just thought that I would check that.
Yeah, my mom when I was a kid told me she had I did an allergy test, and she had the doctor tell me I was allergic to tobacco. When I was like 8.
That's dope though.
No, it's not, because I didn't forgive her for that for a really long time.
Oh.
Because I started smoking anyway. Because it's like the outcome, and she just lied for my protection, and it's like, even at 8, it's like, because as an 8-year-old, I'm like, oh, I'm allergic to tobacco. That doesn't mean anything at 8. And then it's like, as I became older, it's like that didn't stop me from trying a cigarette.
She did like my mom and my word. The allergic isn't scary. It's like, oh, I've seen people with allergies. Allergies aren't scary. But my mom, I didn't drink until I was like 20, and I didn't smoke until I was like 20, like 20, 21. Well, my mom told me that I would die. She's like, you would die. You do that before you say you'll die. I know people who've died.
So what I tell my daughter now, because she's 4 and she's observing things, and so like, I bought a pack of cigarettes the other day. She's like, "What are you buying? Why do you need those?" And I explained. I explained to her. I was like, "This is a bad habit I have. I don't like that I do this. I made a mistake, and now I'm addicted to this." And then I had to explain to her what she's doing. I had to explain what addiction is. I had to explain all these things, and then I had to explain to her that there are things in life as you pick them up that if you get into them, it's hard to shake off, and it will hurt you in the long run. So it's better to avoid them. And this is one of those things that is holding your dad back, that I'm going to do my best to get rid of at some point. But I told her why I started smoking. I was like, when I was 15, all my friends were, so I did it too. I fell, and then I had to explain to her what peer pressure was. So it's like, and this is what I mean by the truth, right? It's like, and it's like, and people underestimate kids or like shake them off or whatever, because it is like that conversation is that was very time consuming, very difficult, and it took me like 45 minutes to explain why I bought a pack of cigarettes. And I think she literally said, I was like, please don't do this, whatever. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever you do. Like, she said that, those words came out of her mouth. But that's something we all know. Kids emulate that, so she just.
No, we don't.
You don't?
We do, but they do.
Well,
about kids copying.
Oh no, kids don't listen to what you say. They copy what you
think that they can tell their kids don't do what I do, and they think that their kids don't do.
No, that's you have to be the embodiment of the person they're supposed to be. So with me, this is why I take fatherhood so seriously. I have 2 daughters, and so if I mess up, then they're gonna marry cornballs. If I am not a perfect example, as perfect of an example as I can be, of ridding myself of the bad habits and ridding myself of the things that hold me back, then they will think that is acceptable in a mate, and they will bury them. It will kill them. So I have to be that. I have to be that. And that, and obviously people go their own way. I'm not saying that me doing the best is going to result in them not making mistakes, because it's not about avoiding mistakes, right? It's about giving them the tools to solve the mistakes as they come. with me as an example. So again, it's like when I was going through the bad things with bank rose and I was super poor and everyone was telling me to go get a job. That's a good short-term strategy, but it's a bad long-term strategy. And one of the points I made that no one even listened to me about, which is crazy, is that if I quit now, I'm teaching my daughters that your dreams are not valuable and that it's acceptable to quit on yourself. And that is not something I want to do. I would much rather suffer for the 3 years because I still have solutions, right? Like that to me is not going and getting a job. I know I sound like a cornball or whatever, like work, but it's like there are other solutions to solve my money problems besides going and getting a job, right? And I can go deeper into that, but I won't. But basically, it's like that one of the and obviously I'm selfish with what I want to do. There is a direct line where it's like I will not stop regardless of whoever thinks I should because I'm right and you're wrong. Which is, I guess, arrogant, but I believe in myself too much. But I cannot be a negative example for my kids. I can't. When they get to be the age where they go and pursue things and they want to pursue something artistic or they want to pursue something outside of the norm, I can't say you should do that because then if I quit on myself, they'll say, Dad used to own a studio and now he works at Chrysler. You know what I mean? And then that shows them that, you know what I mean? It's like, so you have to. I would rather suffer for the thing that I believe in and show my kids that maybe it took your dad 20 years to get there, but he got there. You know what I mean? It's like, and you can too. Like, you have to be an example, regardless of what they want to be, because they might be both like their mother. Like, their mother really likes school. Like, my mom really likes school. Like, they understand. It's like, here's a task, do the task, here's a grade on it. And that's how jobs are set up. And it's like, we in our position, it's a very fine line to walk, because I don't think that's bad. And I think most people, like, I don't think everyone should be an entrepreneur, but I think you need to understand who you are, because to me, that's death. Like, to me, like, going and working a job is death. But for some people, that's what they want. They want the comfort. It's like, you just have to check yourself. So it's like, there will be times, obviously, where I talk crazy shit about college and I talk crazy shit about jobs, but it's like, if that's you, then good. But anyway.
It's coming from your lens, so just keep in mind it's coming from your lens.
Right. So, like, you know, you have to know yourself, which is the root of everything. I know we're getting philosophical as fuck, but that's normally how I like to frame things in general. But yeah, it's like they might both be like their mother. They might fit well into a workplace, or they might want to be mothers primarily, or they might not want to be entrepreneurs. They might not want to be artists. They might, you know, it depends. But at the end of the day, I want them to know who they are as quickly as possible, and then triple down on who they are, and do not sacrifice who you are, like, deeply, who you are in your core for anybody else, which is one of the hardest things to do. And me, I'm very blessed that I knew who I was, but I found out who I was through immense pain. You know what I mean? And it's like, to find out who you are, you have to walk through that.
Yeah.
And you might not make it out.
Yeah, it's a choice. Everything is a choice, but no, like, I mean, on this, to kind of close it, I mean, like, this is, like, as far as repelling the wrong audience, like, we got to really deep, not just as far as financial, but, like, deeper as a, like, moral thing, but, like, to go back a little bit to the surface, I want to compare a little bit to dating, because I just think it's sales, I think everything kind of goes to dating, and sales kind of goes to dating, but, like, when it comes to, like, you know, usually, and I feel like pretty girls, like, just get a bad rap, but they won't call pretty girls stuff, because I really think that most guys don't really give pretty girls, you don't allow a girl you perceive as really, really attractive to meet if it's like you're insecure for it. So what I mean by that is, you know, let's say, same thing when I'll do it for sales and business in a minute, but like for a pretty girl, it's like, okay, let's say you're a guy who has a bad habit of, like, whatever you do, you're a slob or whatever. Like, if you're
a slob, so
you're a slob,
right.
Or, you know, whatever. And like, you're on a date with a girl who's kind of like average, but it's like, I mean, I say that sounds very not good. A date with a girl you perceive as average, I would say that
a 6,
as opposed to your standards, and it's just like, or not even just she's ugly, but like she's a 6 in total as far as like your rating as on a wifey scale. So I don't say 6 as opposed to her attractiveness, but like
you could do better
as far as with the mother of your kid and shit like that, just to make it so we're good. But for that girl, you're okay with just being yourself. You feel more comfortable because it's less taboo. With the pretty girl, you're like, you know, no, you're only gonna mention the good things you do. You're only gonna mention that, and you're only gonna show that. You're gonna try to like for one, I'm going to talk about church a little bit in a minute, but like one of the church, a lot of things you need help. Like addiction is something you really can't get through alone. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just like hard. Yeah, it's like you think that because she's pretty, that's enough that you're going to shed this, and you don't need to tell her about it because it's going to be done. But that's not how it works. You're going to find out about it. And now it's not like she's being shallow. You didn't let her choose to be with you with knowing everything. There are going to be things that pop up, but you didn't give it a chance. Same with the clients. You get a guy who has all the money, you know for a fact, and now you're afraid to say, we have a slow turnaround for this or whatever. It's like if someone's paying you a price, it needs to be. If you don't believe it's worth it, it's gonna be.
You're talking about as a salesperson.
As a salesperson, as yourself, as you're dating. This is. I even added. I'm going through this program. It's fucking amazing. My mentor, his name is Tyson. He basically says, don't focus on the things that your deliverables, things you're gonna give them. Focus on what's gonna happen after. So now it's like one of my outcomes that I listed this, and this every single outcome possible from like working with you. One will be an easier dating life. It'll be easier for you to get girls. When it comes to sales coaching, it's so parallel to dating coaching. It's like the same shit. But yeah, I mean that's my last bit on just tying, repelling the wrong audience, because the thing is, if you tell that pretty girl that the catch is, if you tell that pretty girl, you tell that perfect client this bad thing, and they're like, oh, that's fine. Like that's validation. It's like, bro, I've won. Like this, you're fine. So if it's a girl, she's fine with it. It's like if it's a client, like, wow, you're good. Now that sale's gonna stick. That relationship's gonna last. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of other things.
Right. Let me put a cap on that too, from dating and from relationships. And this goes back to honesty. If you're honest and they trip about it, about the problem, then you shouldn't be dating them. You shouldn't be dealing with them anymore. In my opinion, you could, as time goes, if you feel in your heart that that's something that needs to be rectified from your end, right? Like the problem needs to be rectified, then obviously rectify it. But it's like if you are honest with someone and they lose their shit over it, then that's not a person you need to be around or do business with, because that'll only lead to collapse anyway.
Yeah, it's like people. I think the big mistake people make when it comes to this whole idea of repelling the wrong audience is people who are like solopreneurs don't like to come up trying to make things work. You end up losing your momentum, and we'll talk about momentum on the next episode. But you end up losing your momentum because the wrong clients didn't buy. They weren't supposed to buy anyway. Right. But the thing is, you talked to 25 wrong clients in a row, right, and that made you think that you suck, what you have isn't good because you're in the wrong market. And that makes a lot of entrepreneurs die and just go back to the working world because they're like, oh yeah, what I can do will never sell, because they forget that sales and all this stuff is more than just money.
For sure. Yeah, so what I found this out recently, the difference between marketing and promotion for people who don't know.
Yeah.
The market is literally the people, the type of people that are going to buy your product. That's what the market is, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
The promotion is putting that product in front of those people, in front of their eyeball, right? That's what that is.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, so people use promotion and marketing interchangeably. Marketing is finding the people to sell to, and promotion is selling to those people. Right. So the marketing comes first, right? And I didn't learn this until not 9 months ago. I was doing the same thing. But it's like when you understand that, then it changes everything. Because it's like, yes, when you're just starting, you're trying to sell it, especially if you don't know who you are, you don't know what your product is, you don't know who's gonna buy it because you don't have any idea because you're just starting. It's cool to go out there and try to grab everybody, but you have to pay attention. You have to be like, okay, who are these types of people not buying it? Who are the types of people who are buying it? And then take that data and go more towards the people who are positive. And even if you get 0 sales, you can get closer to the person who will purchase. And then you do that enough times, then you find your market, you find your niche, right? And it's like not all money is good money. You know what I mean? It's like
so not all money will stay or not even stay, but you want the biggest LTV, the biggest lifetime value out of each client. And you don't want to just keep getting clients for $99 or $99. You want that person to purchase first thing for you in the same week, whatever. I mean, to even pick back off that last point when it comes to, I think you were talking about, relating it to clients, and I know you were talking about client acquisition a lot, and you were relating it back to not being with something, things like that. And it's the same thing. Like if you're all these people are coming and they're buying, it's like now all these people are in your you run the promotion, and now you ran the promotion, and now these people are on your page and promoting. And that's why I just ads for. You run the ad and you return.
Right.
Yeah, that's been we're going so deep into repelling the wrong. I think introducing that kind of shows, that kind of shows the guys where what we're trying to do. Obviously, we have a personal development, so we're kind of like what we're about. But that's kind of like really the thing. Like I can mention so many things when I talk about this or that, but it's really just being better than you were yesterday. Like that's our theme. That's what we're about. So regardless of how you get there, like our theme is if you're a person, let's say, who likes to laugh occasionally and wants to be better than you were, yesterday or the day before, this is the podcast for you. Like that's kind of like what we're trying to go towards. And also another reason why I wanted you on here is because again, very intentional. I didn't know. I'm never really clear on anyone's religion. I don't think anyone is really clear on their religion. I mean, some people are, but yeah. I mean, I say that, but I mean, there's a lot of people who aren't. And it's just so everyone's just like, we're trying to like live, man. But I want this week at church inspired because I've been going to church like I told myself, Wednesday, I still go. If it's gonna be something I do, I want to just do it, like a bandwagon or whatever. I want to do it all the time. But this last week it inspired a new segment. Like it's a segment from message of the week that I get, and it's obviously not just preaching, but just tying it to what we do because there's so much. Everything you do, anything you pick up, anything you're studying should be, you should be looking at it from all angles. And I always am able to find things that help me in business, music, sales, whatever. But the biggest thing, and there's one thing I think we're gonna go toe to toe with this message, but we were talking about the steps that you need to make lasting change. So obviously there's a bunch of nuance around that, but it's not just making change like we all want to be better than we were yesterday, but then the next step is sticking to that. Because I feel like there's so many times in my life where I'm like I was taking care of my skin. I mean I was doing well in all facets, and it got to the point where I got comfortable being mediocre in some aspect, even if it's just going okay. I'm going to skip. I had like three things I could put in my face. I'm like, I need to skip this one. The thing I feel like doing is then just piggyback until I skip my whole morning routine, and then people don't understand like your habits. If the smaller the habits you break, they are all the same. Yeah. But that's what we were talking about. Actually sticking it, and once you make that change, is staying it and making it last. And there's three steps, right? So the first step is you can look at the whole step, but it's take half of it. But it's dream big. And it's pray big. So if they obviously not religious, they like to pray. But dream big and pray big. So if you want change, don't let the people get in your head when you have this idea where like this is what I want to do. Like you can't do that, but this one instead. No, do that first one that you thought, shoot for that. If you fall at that one, you tried your best, you're living your full. But if you just don't strive for that because either you thought it wasn't possible or someone else, you want it. Like that's it. The next step was this is the one I think you're gonna have some input on. He said, "Tell a brother or sister." So I mean that was church. So tell someone. But I think I when I first heard him say, I'm like, bro, I don't think I agree with that. He's like, bro, like don't tell anybody. But the way he tied it was so. First, before I say how he actually made it make sense for me, I'll see how you feel about it. I'll see how you feel about that before I'll say how he made it make sense.
Oh, I feel about that statement.
Yeah, because I know that you said you were kind of firm on don't tell anybody.
Okay.
It's working. It's working in silence.
There is value in that because it's an idea of when it goes from a thought and an idea, and you speak it, it becomes a goal, right? It becomes a goal, right? Mm-hmm. And then beyond a goal, when you write down the steps, it becomes a plan, right? So you cannot go from thought to goal without speaking it. Yeah, generally speaking, you can tell it, but don't tell it for validation for other people. Like don't tell it to someone as should I. Tell it to someone I am, flat out. And then if they don't agree with it, that doesn't change the fact you're going to do it. Because I think a lot of people say it to get validation that it's correct, and that's wrong. Right? So, but again, it's like, I only speak on what works for me because there's been a lot of times where I spoke things out, and then even if people agree with me, I didn't make the steps, and then people stop believing me. Right? So it's like, if you're going to say it, you better do it, because if you don't, then those people you said it to will lose respect for you, especially if they didn't believe in you in the first place, and then when you fail, they're going to take that and say, see, when you told me I knew, I wasn't trying to crush your dream, but I knew you couldn't do it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's to be, you have to be prepared to be about it. Like, we don't talk, we do. I believe in that, right? So it's like, I'm not gonna say what he's saying is wrong. But there's caveats to that, where I would much rather keep all of my ideas tough because I will speak it to someone who can either move it forward or give me something that I need in order that maybe I don't know. But I'm not gonna tell it to like my mother. You know what I mean? Just, and that's nothing against my mother, but my mother has a tendency to always see the things that can go. She always sees the dark cloud on the sunny day. You know what I mean? She's negative, right? And she's a saint. I love my mom.
I think most moms have that.
Yeah. Well, my mom has it a lot. My mom has always been very fearful, and I think that's just her personality type. But anyway, yeah.
So, and it's like like you said, you don't want to say that you disagree with it, but you guys actually did agree, like, and like over a big picture. So when he ended up tying it, and when he made it make sense, as he says, but only tell those who are walking in the same faith as you. So when he said that, he was saying, obviously, a Christian, but not Christian. Well, I'll say this to say I'm a Christian. I can't even reason the relationship advice. The relationship advice you gave me was very parallel with the Bible. If I wasn't a Christian, that wouldn't have been good advice to take because that wouldn't have made sense what I'm trying to do. Or just flip it. If you were just completely atheist and you also like didn't really care that I was a Christian at all, then the advice that you gave also would have been like not in accordance to what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So I think all of that was really powerful. Like you said, like to tell it to people, and it's usually gonna be like, family. It's easier to take. I think it's easier to take. It's easier for me now to take negativity from family because I know where it's coming from. But when it's coming from someone else, it's a little harder. I don't want to take it. With family, I'll tell you so that you can at least give me a little bit of like, oh, that's what you're working on. But then okay, go ahead, dump it on. You love me. That's how you show me love. I'd rather you, because otherwise, that's cutting off probably one you're loving.
You know what's funny about me is I say that I don't want to tell people about it, but a lot of times, like we're doing this podcast, and I just said it to my parents, knowing that they're gonna shit on it, but I always just I uninvitedly say it because I naturally want them in.
Yes.
But I know every time I disappoint myself, every single time I disappoint myself in a time, because I'm doing this, I got these clients, I got whatever, I'm moving, and I tell them, and they're like, But I have the confidence. Yeah. But I have the confidence. It's like a sneeze. Like I literally told myself, do not tell them anything. And then when I see them within 3 minutes, I tell them everything.
Yes.
So I don't. But I also know going in when I'm walking into the house, I'm like, if I tell them, don't take it personal. And then I tell them, and then for 4 seconds I take it personal. I have to mentally prepare for that. I can do it anyway because I love them, and I know they love me. So it's. Do your best. Just be confident in yourself.
We're very similar in that. I just love to just let people into what I'm like. Yeah. This is my own let you into what I'm doing because I love you. But I know we're not gonna have time for one segment that I wanted to do. Like we'll just say what it is so that you guys can look forward to it. But it's gonna be the critique of the week. We will start accepting submissions for it now. Basically, each week we'll alternate between giving a song or a music video or a single, and then alternate between like a sales reel, a sales role play, something, some type of advice that you've seen someone give that you want to see our input, see if we agree, see if we get verification. Right, so I wanted to.
That's a good segment.
Not gonna have time for it today, but you guys can DM us either songs or video that you see tips and shit like that you're like, this sounds like some good shit, but you guys need to be careful to not just take Instagram advice. There's a guy that I follow, he's another mentor. He definitely inspired me to say that a lot. He definitely make a difference. But he does tax advice, and he have people sending tax advice that people gave me actually says if it's legit or not. And it's it inspired me because there are a lot of advice. There was shit that he was posting that was he's he completely debunked what the hell that they were talking about. Right. It was completely false, completely wrong. Yeah. And you see one of the pages was huge, thousands and thousands of comments. I'm gonna do this right now, blah blah blah. It's it's scary. So it's I just wanted to do something that, hey, at least not to say we know everything, but I'll speak on what I know. Speak on through the lens and things like that. And when it comes to the music, it's more so from the big picture, not just if you're good or not, because that's subjective. From everything. So from like the engineer standpoint, if we new engineer, we're gonna hook you up. And then if you need a new beat, we got some people that can figure that out too, or whatever. But yeah, from the music standpoint, it'll be bigger, not just if you're good or not type of thing. We're actually giving some feedback. The lyrics, the cadences, the word, everything like that. But you guys can.
Was there a third point? I'm sorry, not to cut you off.
Was there a third?
Because like I know I'm running out of. I'm sorry.
Oh my God! No. The last one, the most important one. Act now. Okay, the biggest. Act now. So when he actually said in church, he was like, don't just say, okay, I leave church today, right now, and I want to be a better Christian. I'm gonna go and turn on the chain and then curse someone off and cut me off. Like actually, like whatever you're trying to do, don't just say, yeah. Well, I need to work on it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna work on that next couple weeks, like today, like do that right now. Right. Like the name of this podcast is almost called the Be a Doer podcast. The guy was like, the thing is be a doer. It's like the people who get things done. Obama said this better. The people who get things done. Don't just be the person who's good at identifying the problem. Like, oh yeah, that's broken. Be the one who just like you didn't even know the fucking problem because he's already finished and he got it done. Like that person gets paid.
So I'm working on this. This is a big problem I have. But there's two things that I heard that are really, really helpful that I'm trying to internalize because I know them, but I haven't internalized them. And one is from Jeff Bezos, who basically pointed out that the anxiety does not come from doing the task. The anxiety comes from the task still not being done. Which is true, right? And that's what procrastination is. It's like you feel bad because there are things that need to be done, right? And then Alex Hormozy, to kind of finish that out, said something to the effect of, the longer you're waiting to do something, if you just do it, like from a binary perspective, it takes someone 4 weeks to make one decision that takes 30 minutes. So you're spending all of this thinking time, and then to do something that's going to take 30 minutes. And that, for me, the execution part, that is a huge problem with me. That is a huge flaw with myself that I'm really, really working on because I still procrastinate and I still wait and I still deal with the anxiety of not doing, even though I know these things, but I'm trying to internalize them, right? And so for me, it's like, from where I sit right now, it's the little wins that keep you going, and we're going into momentum next week, so that's perfect. So it's like you do the little things to give yourself a little bit of momentum, and then that momentum ramps up. Like, so for example, it took me, no bullshit, 2 weeks to reach out to those 5 clients that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, and then in 1 week I had 5 new clients, but it took me like 2 months to just DM. I was making lists.
And it's like, man, I hate that you gotta go through this. Like, people don't see that stuff and they don't understand it. The reason why you're probably like, you're no matter what, you're not gonna walk away from this because you see that happening. You saw how, even though you shit the bed, even though you took so much time, even though you feel like you could have done 10 times better, you had that production. And it's like, you know what you haven't done. And that's what a lot of people don't know. They see that you took that long to do that, but you're like, yeah, but I know I could have done better, and that it's possible.
Right. So it's it's difficult from like, there are invisible ties holding you back, and you just need to sort of close your eyes and just, I'm doing it. I'm just gonna do it.
Just do it.
And so it's the overthinking part is, I don't know if you said this, I heard this from somewhere. The most successful people are the people who, this is I think an Alex Hormozy thing too, is from thinking about a decision to doing the decision. If you minimize that, then you will kill all of that overthinking. You will just kill it. So you have to get lizard brain with it. Where it's like, I'm gonna, like you did that with the 2 episodes. Yeah. You were like, I'm doing it. I've decided I'm doing 2 episodes.
I called myself, because I literally typed a message that said, should we? And I really had to change it, but that's what I want to do. That's what's gonna work.
And then to amplify on that is like, because if you spend all your time thinking about if it will work, that's all time that we could be spending to know if it will work. To figure it out. You know what I mean? It's like you need to go out and fail. You need to go out and see what doesn't work and get actual feedback instead of a hypothetical thought of will it or will it not, because your brain can go into like, Marvel level multiverse of outcomes. And it's like, just do it and see what happens. I think a lot of people are just afraid to fail, but I'm beating this into my children now. Make sure you do something.
You're not black, so it's fine. But if I said that, I would have like, well, I'm not really good.
No, but I'm instilling into my children, go out there and do it and fail. And if you fail, if anyone judges you for failing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they judge you for failing because you have to fail in order to succeed. And if you don't fail, if you just get success without failing, then you cannot keep the success.
You can't teach nobody else. Don't listen to no mentors who haven't failed.
Flat out. Flat out. You gotta go out there and take some L's and get beat up out here in order to know
that's where the lesson.
No, facts. Life is the only teacher. Like, not the best teacher, it's the only teacher. I don't care. I stand on that. So, you want last word?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just real quick wrap it up to what we learned and what we want you to have taken away. If you actually want longevity, repelling the wrong people is even more than attracting the right people. Right? If you want to make lasting change, I can't believe all this left at all. That's very. You need to dream big and pray big if you're whether as well. You need to tell someone who's walking in the same place as you, whatever that means for you. And you need to act now. Right? And I mean, this was very, I like the way we have this today. This is really good. But definitely appreciate you guys tuning in to episode 3 of the Preme Pod. What would you like to leave everyone with? What you got?
Don't be afraid to be yourself. Because the most important person to love is yourself that is looking at you in the mirror. And anyone who doesn't love who you are authentically is not a person that needs to be around, and that translates top down. Friends, relationships, business. If you lean into who you are, stop wishing you were somebody else and be the best version of yourself.